All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're really going to dig into a pretty foundational text, the fifth landmark of faith, and its doctrine of creation. What we're going to do is break down how this account actually builds its case, step by step. We'll start with the basic definitions and follow it all the way to the big conclusions.
Okay, so first things first, let's lock in the core definition. When this text talks about creation, it's not being fuzzy or metaphorical. It's actually defined with a ton of precision. It's called an authentic and historical account of God's work, and, this is key, it all happens in 6 literal days. Now, those aren't just throwaway words. They're basically the ground rules, the lens through which we're supposed to view everything else that comes next.
So, the first big pillar holding this whole thing up is this claim of authenticity. Right out of the gate, the text tells you exactly how to approach it. It says, hey, don't read this like it's a poem or some kind of allegory. Instead, you're meant to read it as a historical record. And you can see why that's so critical, right? It's a framing device. It sets the stage for a factual, literal reading from the very beginning. And here we have the assertion in its own words. When it says God revealed this historical account, that's a pretty bold claim about where this information comes from and what it is. It's basically looking the reader in the eye and saying, listen, what you're about to read, treat it as a straight-up factual report of events as they happened.
Okay, so if you're going to claim something is historical, you need more than just a statement. You need specifics. And that's exactly what the text does next. It shifts from the what of creation to the when. It lays out a very clear timeline, which has the effect of grounding this huge cosmic event in something we can all understand, a structured measurement of time.
So the document details this whole creation event happening over 6 distinct days. And what we see here is the result of that work, the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But the absolute key takeaway from the text itself is its emphasis on literal days. It's really insistent on this point. This isn't meant to be read as 6 symbolic ages or, vast geological epics. The text is arguing for 6 actual back-to-back 24-hour periods of work. Then, after those 6 days of busy, active creation, the whole pattern just shifts. Day 7 is different. It's not defined by what was created, but by what wasn't created. It's a day of rest. It's a full stop, marking that the job is done. And as we're about to see, this simple act of resting is framed as having some really significant long-term consequences for us. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where the text draws a direct line from that ancient event all the way to our lives today. It makes the case that this 7th day wasn't just, the end of the story. Nope. It argues that it became the very foundation for 3 huge things: a memorial of that work, the Sabbath, and, maybe the biggest one of all, the 7-day week that we still use. So just to be super clear here, the argument being made is that our 7-day week isn't some random social invention, and it's not based on, say, the phases of the moon. According to this text, it is a direct inheritance, a carbon copy of the structure of that original creation week. You see how that reinforces the historical claim, right? It's embedding the legacy of that event right into the fabric of our everyday lives. All right, so within this 6-day structure, the story is clearly building towards something. It's like a crescendo. There's one particular act that's set apart, given special importance above everything else. The text calls it the crowning work of creation. And that phrase, crowning work, that's not just poetic language. It's very intentional. What it does is establish a clear hierarchy. It suggests that, everything made on the first 5 days was important. It was foundational. But the creation of the first man and woman? That was the whole point. That was the ultimate goal, the absolute pinnacle of the entire project. So, what makes humanity so special, according to this account? Well, it's defined in 2 key ways. The first is all about nature. Humans are made in the image of God. And the second is about function. They're given a specific job to do. They're charged with having dominion over the world, but also with the duty to care for it. So you see, in this view, a person's purpose is tied up in both who they are intrinsically and what they are tasked to do. So we're at the end of the process. The work is all done, the humanity is in place, and the text gives us one final assessment. You can think of it like a final inspection, a quality control check on the whole project, describing the condition of the world right at that moment of completion. And the final verdict? Very good. Now, this isn't just an off-the-cuff comment like, hey, that's pretty nice. It's presented as a definitive, official declaration of perfection. And this perfection isn't just for its own sake. It has a purpose, which is declaring the glory of God. So the idea here is that this flawless, perfect creation serves as a direct reflection, a testament to the one who made it. And really, that leads us right to our final question for today, the big thing to think about. We've walked through how this text builds its case, right? From its framing as history, to the six-day structure, to humanity as the crowning work. And it all ends with this powerful declaration. So what does it truly mean for a world as described here to be declared very good, perfect, without any flaws? And if that's the starting point, well, how does that change how you see everything that comes after?